and are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show every Sunday 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Yeah, so I forgot what commercial that's from. I forgot what commercial that's from. I usually know all the commercials. I have that in my head though. .com. So, we are on Facebook. Welcome everybody who's tuned in on Facebook. Wanted to get that taken care of, so we got that right there. Okay, so, and I got the mic. So, couple of quick things. So, I'm always telling everyone to pull their mic up closer to them. And then I turn my head to look at screens and I'm not talking into the mic. And the big critique has been, AJ, we cannot hear you. And when Damon comes on Skype, they say, AJ, we don't know what you said. We can only hear Damon if y'all talking at the same time. So I'm turning my mic facing me. And today I am going to try to talk into the microphone like I want everybody else to do. So I have the mic facing me and also not facing sideways so that I'm talking into the side of the mic. So let's see if you can hear me better today. Shout out to Nas Duncan. Was just talking to her before we got on the air. Just always shout out to her and all the mothers that are dealing with fighting for justice for the loss of a loved one across the county. I'm also, a couple of housekeeping things real quick. So it's come to my attention that everybody who watches on Facebook Live does not like their name to be mentioned. So anyone who's tuned in who does not leave a comment, like Caitlin just did, hi guys, I will acknowledge you when you leave a comment or say hello. And up till that point, I will not be just mentioning everybody who's tuned in, since everybody tuned in does not want that for whatever reason, even though your name shows up right there. They do not want it said on the air. So I will respect everybody's wishes and I will do that. Secondly, so this is March 3rd. We just came to the end of Black History Month. I want to urge, and we really didn't do a big Black History celebration on the People Before Politics radio show. And that's because Black History, the celebration of Black History, should not be the 28 days of February. We celebrate Black History and we make Black History 365 days a year. So we at Black Westchester and People Before Politics will be celebrating Black History all year long, not just on the 28 days that they have assigned for the shortest month of the year. So we didn't do the traditional Black History celebration or anything, other than honoring that it's Black Westchester. Real quick. So Mr. Wallace, I am on the air talking to you. Hello, how can I help you? Okay, I'm literally on the air right now, like literally on the air with my phone to my ear. Literally. They can't hear you, but they can hear me, and they know that I'm holding a phone to my ear talking to you. I'm about to address that, and I'm going to address that with you on the phone right now. So here's another thing we were going to address. So Damon had a conversation recently with Cynthia Turnquest Jones when Sean Patterson Howard decided to enter the race. And what Damon told Cynthia was that, we already have the Delta scheduled, that Sean can't come on as a Delta and then come on as a candidate. So as long as she's running, she can come on one time. And then Lorraine wanted to bring Tasha through several times, who's running for city council in Yonkers. And I told Lorraine that she could come. So you could come one time as a guest, but I can't bring you on as a co-host while that you are running for office. And I want people to hear me tell you that so they don't think I'm giving you favoritism. And that's why I picked up the phone. So, but all right. But I'm here. I'm here though. I'll holler at you when I get off later. So I wanted to address that. And I thought, full disclosure. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we keep it real here. You know what I'm saying? There's no need to fake. You know that I supported the Rich Thomas campaign, and I did the social media, even though I had a job here to do as People Before Politics. And every candidate who was running against him, I gave all of them an invitation to be on the show. And I gave them their own spotlight. When every candidate said that they was running for office in Mount Vernon, Ernie Davis, I have a post on blackwestchester.com that he's running. Delia made a video that she was running. I posted her video. Sean Patterson Howard called me specifically to tell me she was definitely running. I sent a video up for that. So, it's my job to present all the candidates to you. As I said, all of us here, everybody involved in the show, of course, has somebody that they want to win in a particular race. I like Andre Rainey in Peekskill, but the GOP put together a bipartisan ticket. I had to run that as well, evenly, so that people can make informed decisions, not just the people that I like or the people that I may support. So that's what the whole thing is. So I have to hold myself to the same accountability. Andre Wallace just called to see if he can come on the show. And because he's a candidate, he can come on one time during this process like everybody else, unless we have a debate or we have a meet the candidate forum with all the candidates. But he cannot, while we're running, come on as he's one of our co-hosts. He cannot co-host. Tasha Diaz and Yonkers running for city council cannot co-host while this campaign is going on, so that it is fair for all the other candidates. And to keep it real, I wanted y'all to hear me tell Andre Wallace that on the air, because people always be like, he says one thing and does another. Well, that was real. He just called to just drop by, and I've informed him on the air that he cannot come by as long as he's running as a candidate. He cannot just pop up and co-host. When the election's over, that's another thing. But during the election, it wouldn't be fair to all the other candidates. Again, we all have somebody that we're supporting. We all have somebody that we like. We tried to have all the candidates on who were willing to come on. All are not willing to come on. All the candidates in the Mount Vernon mayoral race are, once they're on the ballot, we're not going to do a lot of candidates. Another thing, because right now nobody's on the ballot, so nobody's a candidate. So once there is a ballot, we open invitation right now to everybody, and you can tell anybody who is running for any office in Westchester, Democratic or Republican, that's trying to reach black people. They are welcome to come on the show. They just need to schedule it, and everybody gets their 15 minutes of their spotlight. We will interview everybody. We will ask everybody the tough questions, and I am tough on those who I support. Case in point, Alexandria Biaggi, one of the biggest knocks on her was that her grandfather had been indicted for corruption. That's what they talked about. So I made sure I had her address that. I asked her that question, and she had to address that if she wanted to be on the show. And she handled it well. And same thing with some charges against Andrea Stewart-Cousins, who I support. I had her address those things. And I think that's only fair for everybody. And Black Westchester and People Before Politics will continue to keep this as our forum and as our format to just be, to interview all the candidates running, to hopefully give all of you, the viewers, the voters, the residents, and the municipalities of Westchester County and beyond, a chance to hear from your candidates. And it's up to you to decide who you vote for. It's up to you to decide who you support. It does not matter who I'm supporting. We've been doing this for 4 years, and there have been several elections that I have actually been hired to do some people's social media. But that has nothing to do. When they come on this show, they are just another candidate like every other candidate, and they get treated that way everybody else get treated, and they're going to get asked the hard questions like everybody else, and I'm not going to be harder on candidates that I know. I've had candidates, seriously, let's keep it real, that I did not support and that I did not like as personal as A.J. Woodson personally. But they wanted to come on the show. I made them welcome. I did the interviews with them, and we handled it, because that's what we do, and that's what we are supposed to do. So I just wanted to get those few things out. as you know, I like Andre Wallace in this race. Dr. Bob Baskerville will address that himself. We're going to turn it onto the screen in a minute, and he will address that himself. Lorraine has already addressed and will address that. She is supporting Tasha Diaz for the City Council 3rd District race in Yonkers. And she will speak to that. But everybody, we will have Saboni McCauley, who is running against Tasha. She will be on the show, and the other candidates in that race are welcome as well. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just felt that these things need to be said, and they need to be said from me. So we are all clear. All candidates are welcome. It's up to them to come on the show. It's up to them to have their platform ready. This is what we do, and that's it. So without further ado, let me introduce my dude, who's in the place to be, who's in the studio with me, the one, the only, Dr. Robert Baskerville, PhD, a.k.a. Brooklyn Bob, a.k.a. Dr. Bob, a.k.a. that's my dude. Damon K. Jones may or may not tune in on Skype later, but he is always here, even when he's not here. And the lovely Lorraine Lopez, the weather's kind of crazy. It's been crazy the last couple of days, and we've thought it was best for her to rock out and chill and at home, so she don't have to take that long ride that she takes every Sunday to come be on the show. So she will be tuned in if she's not. Shout out to everyone who's listening, and I will say this a couple more times. Brooke Jones said Andre Wallace for mayor. Nas said hello to Sin, and Sin said hello to Nas. Brooke said, I know that's right. Good evening, everyone. Caitlin said she doesn't mind getting mentioned, and she said, "Good, hi guys." Nas said, "Good night, all." Again, for everybody listening, some people just tuned in. It came to my attention that everybody listening does not necessarily want to be named, as was my policy. If I saw you, I gave you a shout out. So now if I don't see you leave a comment or you don't say hello, I might not necessarily mention your name, keeping for those who don't necessarily want their name mentioned, so it's out of respect for them. So if I don't mention your name, that's why I didn't mention your name, or I didn't see your comment. But all you just got to do is type it and say hey or hello or have a question or a comment, and I will definitely read it and acknowledge that you are here. So I'm saying shout out to everybody who is tuned in. One shout out to my homegirl Melissa Collins Bonds from the ATL. She tuned in from the ATL, so I'm going to shout her out. And shout out to my man Monty Whitaker, my brother. Grew up in Long Island together, and he lives in Port George County, Prince George County, I'm sorry, in Maryland, and he's a faithful listener. Anybody else, if you don't say hi, I'm not going to mention your name. Uncle Frank said mention my name regardless. So Uncle Frank don't care. He won his name mentioned. Shout out to Uncle Frank who's tuned in. Cynthia Turnquest Jones, a friend of the show, I will give her a shout out. She's tuned in. Everybody else, shout out. If you don't say hello or something, I won't necessarily mention your name. So without further ado, Dr. Bob. So I want to allow you to address what I said, but then I want to move on about how candidates will be treated, and you wanted to put full disclosure out or whatever so yourself.
So good evening, everyone, and especially good evening to you, AJ. I want to applaud you as the editorial voice of Black Westchester Magazine and People Before Politics for reaffirming the organization's commitment to the people.
People before politics, yes.
Before politics. As I announced several weeks ago, I am supporting Andre Wallace for mayor. Needless to say, I am going to give it my all. I'm not going to serve as a surrogate for the Wallace campaign while I'm on air. My most important duty and obligation is to the residents of Mount Vernon and people in the broader Westchester area to try to speak, not to wear my hat as a supporter of the Wallace campaign, but rather to wear the hat that I originally graced the stage of People Before Politics with, that of Dr. Robert Charles Baskerville, PhD in sociology, public intellectual who is committed to providing as much clarity to our nation, to local residents in a time of great confusion. it is imperative, in keeping with this role, that I firstly make clear to everyone in the principle of transparency who I am supporting. I'm going to say it very briefly why I'm supporting him. When I fought the fight, and on principles that were important to me over the past 4 years, and I looked around on the field of battle, the only elected official I saw beside me was Andre Wallace. Andre Wallace, therefore, in my judgment, has been vetted. How does that differ from what happened last time? I'll use a quote: "Many are called, but few are chosen." Last time I gave my support to then candidate Richard Thomas because he called me and asked me. This election cycle, I chose to support Andre Wallace, Councilman Andre Wallace, for the reasons that I just articulated. However, again, my commitment is to trying to have a principled discussion about the true issues that are at stake here, and there is no more important time for our city and for our nation to try to live up to some real high-minded principles as we try to navigate through this very difficult time. And so, everyone, I want you to know that is my commitment to you. I possess no magic crystal ball. My role in the Thomas campaign last time, I think, makes clear that I am not infallible. People can legitimately ask whatever questions they want. I will not be answering any questions on air or in person about why I support Andre Wallace, because I've already said it. I am hoping that all the candidates, Andre Wallace, Sean Patterson Howard, Clive Isley, former Mayor Ernie Davis, City Councilman Delia Farquharson, and the current incumbent Mayor Richard Thomas, all capably present their views and defend themselves. Rather, when I do weigh in on the race, I promised to AJ, and I'm going to try to keep true to this. I am a human, but I'll try to keep true to this. I will be dealing with principles only, deep policy issues. I'm not going to allow myself to be dragged down into the tawdry, politics.
Cynthia said people can change their minds, which is what needs to be understood and respected.
Absolutely.
And I wanted Cynthia, I don't know when she tuned in, just so it's clear,
right.
Before this episode, and I've had a conversation behind the scenes, I asked both Dr. Bob, who is supporting Andre Wallace, and Lorraine Lopez, who is supporting Tasha Diaz, can they be impartial in interviews with their opponents? They both gave me their word that they can. I will, of course, have the final voice. So if ever there is a point that is not kept, then I will have to make a decision. But I asked both of them before we went on air. Lorraine's not going to be here today, but I've asked both of them because they are specifically supporting a candidate in this election. Can they be impartial? So it will be, and I don't know if Cynthia heard me when I said it earlier. I know the conversation you and Damon had about Sean coming on one time, and Andre Wallace just called while the show started to see if he can come today, and I told him on the phone while on the air that he cannot pop up as a co-host while he is running for election. He will have his one day like everybody else, unless we have a candidate forum where we have a meet the candidate forum or a debate, however they want to set that up. We'll do that. And I've also told Lorraine that Tasha cannot come on as a co-host while she is running for office, and especially co-hosting the show when one of her opponents is on. That just will not be tolerated. We're not doing none of that. So so I just wanted to be, understood and so everybody will be respected. And again, I've had candidates on that I personally, A.J. Woodson personally did not think had a chance, did not think that they were qualified. But they were running for office in Westchester County, and they asked to come on, and we had them on. And that includes some Republican candidates. So All candidates in Westchester County are welcome. All statewide candidates. We had Jumaane Williams up here when he was running for lieutenant governor. We had Larry Sharp on, who was running on the Libertarian, and a lot of people did not know that it was a black man running for governor in the last election, and still don't. But we had him on while I didn't think he had a snowball chance in hell to win. But he got the same time that any other candidate would have gotten that's running for a statewide office that wants to come on this show. So that's just that. Enough of that. That was just the policies, and that's the way we're going to do. That's how we started out, and that's how we're going to keep it going. And, of course, perception belongs to the people. There will be those who perceive that I'm favoritism to somebody. There will be those who will perceive that I won't give somebody a fair shake. I cannot control someone else's perception or opinion, and I refuse to be stressed by anything I can't control. So I will control what I can control, and what I do is what I can control. So enough of that said. So there's been a lot of things going on this week. I know we had there was the Cohen congressional hearing, which was we will definitely discuss that because that was very interesting. We also had in Mount Vernon, we had the city council overriding the mayor's veto of the 2019 budget. It passed Wednesday night at a vote to 4-1. Councilwoman Janice Duarte had responded, and Derek Lawrenson, who may or may not be a candidate for mayor, he hasn't said, had wrote somewhat of an opinion, editorial opinion piece about the budget, and Dr. Bob, and I'll let him speak to this himself, and I do want to say this on the air because I got a call from David Duarte when the vote went through the first time, and I announced that Janice didn't vote, and he wasn't pleased that I announced that. Well, that was the public vote. So we had an interesting conversation, but what Dr. Bob said was even different. He said, what troubled him, and I'll let him speak on it, is that while Janet said that this budget raises taxes without giving people services or something along those lines, she never articulated to us in the city council meeting and those watching online what were the things that were not covered. What were the concerns that she had? She just said she had a concern. And Bob, since that was your comment, let me let you speak on that alone. For yourself.
Yeah, I think as we've demonstrated now more than ever, transparency is a principle of utmost importance if we're going to get some clarity as to how we should go forward. One thing I've learned actually is though I am a smart man, AJ, a learned guy,
right,
I do not know everything. And I've made a dogged attempt to know everything. I'd like to know everything. After all, that's the ideal of the scholar. But I would be a mere human and not God, and so I'll never know it all. I'm not going to be omniscient. I'm looking to my public officials to engage in a dialogue with me and the rest of the public about important issues for which we must make brave choices. Those choices cannot be addressed in a straightforward and unvarnished manner. We can't have the dialogue, everyone, if there's no one on the other end to speak. And while I understand that concerns that were raised by both Councilwoman Duarte and I think earlier Councilwoman Farquharson.
There was some concerns from Councilwoman Farquharson, yeah.
I thought that, and I still believe that they have an obligation to try to lay out with as much concision and clarity as possible the grounds for those objections. If there's problems with our budget, with our any other governmental policy, we can't really address them if people are just going to allude to problems and not say it straightforwardly. AJ, from the very first moment that I joined you, Damon, Cynthia, and the rest of the People Before Politics team on air, I have always been very clear with the principles, the underlying principles that I have felt at stake in some of these discussions. And I want to urge, listen, we want to hear.
I love your Webster Dictionary tongue. Cynthia Turnquest Jones, who loves words,
right?
who loves, every now and then she'll tell me, yeah, I had to look that word up. That was a good word you used in that piece. So she loves words. She says she loves your Webster Dictionary tongue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate the compliment. So,
although we have to ask you what the hell some stuff mean when you say it, though. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, the reality is that we're not going, as a community, we're not going to be able to honestly and openly meet the challenge unless our current elected officials are willing to go on the public record and state clearly and plainly policy issues and objections they have. Moreover, we have many former public officials.
We've had that conversation.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, this week alone, we bumped into former councilwoman and council president, three-time council president, Roberta Apuzzo. I'm a fan of MSNBC. And one of the things I like how they do, they bring former elected officials, and they bring appointed officials, former attorney generals, former, people that are experts in the field of whatever it is that they're discussing, and people before politics going into our 5th anniversary this year. We like to get more into that, so we were inviting experts in the field on certain things, former elected officials and appointed officials to come on. Like we've had Michael Sussman come on and deal with some stuff as far as civil rights and stuff. Like he's an expert. He was an attorney general candidate. He was, he's fought some big civil rights cases for the Yonkers. I think for Yonkers, I'm not sure if it's the YMCA, but something in Yonkers. She fought a big groundbreaking case. So we had him come on to explain. We had Doc Cavallo come on to explain like the election process from the role of a county chair, a county party chair. We've invited Reggie Lafayette, who has not taken us up on that. But we want to get back into that, and we will be reaching out. And Bob has been very strong and working and calling for that as well.
Yeah, so, I want to second your invitation on air, especially to our elected officials, to come and share with us some of your views if time allows, provided that
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're not talking about coming off of the propaganda.
Right
now, let's just say it would be appropriate when we're discussing this budget process. A lot of people don't understand how this budget goes, how the mayor can veto, how the council can veto it. So to have former Mount Vernon City Council people who have passed budgets explain the budget process, and former and current controllers who were involved explain the process would be very good. Right. We've had we had Lorraine, who a lot of people may not know is a former Yonkers councilwoman, and she's explained certain things in the process of votes she had to take and how things go. So we need those expert voices because nobody knows it all. We need to refer to people who, and I love that about MSNBC, although they may be more left and Fox may be more right, but I mean Fox does that. Fox also does that, but to make their point. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of them do it to make a point one way or the other. It's good when you have some people that not necessarily all think the way you think, or all, you know what I'm saying, all have the same opinion that you have, to have a dialogue and conversation. And we break up, hey, me, Damon, Bob, and Lorraine do not all think the same thing at the same time, do not all represent the same party, sometimes do not always be on the same point with the same candidates. And we express that dialogue, and I think that's the dynamic of the show. And
that's when the show functions at its best. So precisely because we don't have all of the knowledge, even though we make a dogged effort each and every week with everything else that's going on to try to stay informed about the issues that are of importance to the broader Westchester community, we're seeking guidance from elected officials, former officials. Come on air, share your expertise with us. and help to educate us and help us to confront these issues together.
We'll be reaching out to some people that have worked on certain elections. Like they had people that worked on the Obama election, talking about, campaign, talking about certain campaigns. So there's some people that have been big and Tasha Diaz has worked on certain campaigns, and she knows a lot of people on that level. Shout out to also Andy, who is the head of the Working Family Party, who comes on here as a co-host sometimes, and Charles Stern, who has Red Blue Talk. They also bring a different perspective, and they come on often to share that. We don't always see eye to, but our voices are all. Shout out to Sandy Barnaby, who also brings a much needed voice. So I wanted to read, and let me just, can I just stop for a minute? So I just wanted to listen. So here's the whole thing about being trying to be fair. So we had got a call, Bob and I, yesterday. Actually, someone from the Ernie Davis campaign told Bob that there was going to be a mayoral debate at Greater Centennial, right? So I hadn't heard about it, and that being my church, I reached out to my cousin first, Kim Umstead. She works in the office for the pastor, and then I reached out to the pastor himself, who called me back. So in the pastor, I just got a message, and that's why I want to respond to the message. So I just in his conversation to tell me that there is no debate, and having a debate before they make the ballot makes no sense, but that the United Black Clergy was going to have kind of like a meeting with the candidates. They meet with the candidates. So but it was postponed because of the I may need to get her in here because she's not on the screen. Hold on, Damon's tuned in, but hold on real quick, Damon. So anyway, during that conversation, so the pastor asked me last Sunday, Councilwoman Delia Farquharson, Yonkers council candidate Sabani McCauley, I hope I pronounced her name right, spoke at Greater Centennial, but sitting next to Delia Farquharson was former Mayor Ernie Davis. And because Pastor Poe was out of town, Ernie Davis was not acknowledged. So he, knowing that I'm not necessarily supporting Ernie Davis, but knew that I could asked me to reach out to the Ernie Davis camp and tell them that oversight will never happen again, and he makes sure that he can speak. He can come anytime, he will be acknowledged, and he asked me to ask all the candidates if they want to come to make sure they call the Monday before the Sunday they want to come on. Anything but the second Sunday, which will be communion, which is usually first Sunday. So I did that today to someone in the camp, and to please pass that message, and they just messaged me that they called Ernie and they told him. So I'm just saying, like, I have no vested interest in that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not supporting Ernie, but in my role, he was contacting me not only as we have a guest. We have not only as somebody who goes to his church, but as the head of Black Westchester. He knew that I could get his message through for him. So that's what I did, and they just responded. Damon, hold on, because I don't have the screen with you on it. So if I click you in, nobody's going to be able to see you. I need them to put you on screen. That's all. So I can see you, but nobody else can see you. So that's why I haven't got you yet. It's not your fault. They have to come. They have to come do the thing in the box so you can be seen. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out because that person just responded saying they got in touch with Ernie, and I just wanted to share, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's real time. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not just here talking. We're going to do this. We're going to be impartial for all the candidates, and that's what it is. So, I could have not said nothing, and Ernie could have not have been invited and could have been salty with the pastor, and I could have left that alone. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's not. He contacted me because he knew as Black Westchester I could reach out for him and represent him as well. And I just wanted to, shout him out, and I wanted to make sure that I brought that up. And thank you to the person, I'm not, saying who it is, the person in the Ernie Davis camp who passed the message to Ernie for me.